rusty wheels and knew I'd take her home. I brought her to my farm in an Amish neighborhood where simple living's valued. She'd be loved and understood.
Hello everybody, welcome back. So I'm going to get started getting this pretty Singer 127 put back together again. She is freshly painted. I just really quickly threw oil all over and busted my glove. Let's get a new one of those on. Put some oil around because I stripped all the oil out of her when I was painting her so that she's lubricated and moving freely. Piece of masking tape right there. So let me go ahead and grab some of our parts and we'll get started. Okay, so I'm actually going to get started right here, and I do have my light on. Doesn't look like it's that bright, but you know, we do what we can. So let me get my little parts together down here. They are cleaned already. In some cases I may need to do a final little polish, but in general they're clean. And this looks like one of the ones I am going to give it a quick polish. Okay, so this needs to go so that this bearing is set in the groove right in there. So I'm just throwing some oil into that groove and let it travel around. I don't mind it being a little extra oily right there. And let me go ahead and get this slid in. It seems like it goes better if you put it in with the bearing out and then flip it right side out. That seems to work really well. So now I just need to push it straight in like that. And here is the big flat screw, which I need to cinch in right there. After you put it in, you're going to want to make sure that you can turn the wheel, everything is good, wiggle this around. If it feels loose, give it another cinch. You know, we are good here. Now I need to warn you ahead of time, you're going to see oily fingerprints on this white machine. The clear coat's really strong, it'll protect it. I can just wipe my fingerprints off later. Okay, so while I am doing background things, I'm going to go ahead and put the lifter lever back in here. So, get it out. This is it. Okay, I'm going to slide it in the side here. And right there, there's a little hole. Now let me get my screw starter here. Get that set. The slot on this nail is just very shallow, and that is making it really difficult for my little screw starter to grab onto it. So, you know, I need to grab a different screwdriver here. Something that's not so big right there. Okay, I want to move it up and down while I'm doing this to make sure that I don't get it bound up. So I have my screw in all the way, and I can still lift my lifter lever up and down all the way. Now, that's pretty tight. I'm going to back it out just a hair so it moves freely. Okay, sounds good. All right, so now I'm going to start with part of the needle bar. This little bearing needs to go on that little post right there. So I'm just going to pop it on, make sure it can spin around, and it can. All right, now this piece here, and making sure, I oiled it when I cleaned it, but I'm putting a little more oil on it again. This bearing is going to go inside of this post, so I want to make sure that that's where it needs to be up there. Oh, you know what? Before I put my needle bar in all the way, let me lower this so it's not hanging so high. I need to put that little spring that goes on the end of this in, because it'll be easier to do that now. And that is part of my tension mechanism system stuff here. Hang on one sec. So I'm going to put all those pieces in here. And yes, they did come out like a big clump because I stick a magnet in there. So I'll pull my magnet out. And this is the tiny spring I'm looking for. Okay, the smaller end is going to go up against this little bump right there. I'm going to need some tweezers to do this. Okay. Okay. That feels pretty good. Okay. I will do my tension after I get this stuff done. I'll put my tension system back in. All right. I get my needle bar. And I'm going to put more oil in the top, oil in the bottom, and slide this down through this bracket. Like that. Okay, it needs to come all the way through. Now, we're looking for a hole. There it is. You see that hole right there? This side is a little wider than that side. Now, this is the side the screw head goes into, and if you look down, that's the side there's a little slot visible, okay? I need to move this down so that it lines up with this hole right here. Right there, okay? So I've got a couple screws, and I need there's two screws. There's a bigger one here and a smaller one there. I need to get those put in so that it'll hold the needle bar in place. Okay, so they are both in, and I'm turning it. You can see it go up and down. Shuttle machines are cool, and if you can watch, it's going to come down and give a little bounce, and then go back up again. Bounce. I love that. That's what makes that special rhythm noise that these machines will have that like a rotary hook type machine won't. All right, down here on the bottom, we got a few things going on. This is the needle clamp, and I'm just going to slide that up here and tighten it. And on the back of the needle bar, hang on, I'm still turning this little thing here. Okay, on the back of the needle bar, right there, is a tiny hole that this little screw right here is going to go into. And that is what this thread guide is going to go into. Okay, so it kind of wraps around like that. But I need to get this tiny screw on the screw starter here. It's really important that you put this in because the end of this screw, see how it's not threaded at the very end? That acts as the stop that the needle goes up against. So if you take this out, you're not going to be able to sew because your needle will not be in the right position. Just saying, maybe from experience. You be the judge. Okay. Well, that is too big. Now, this thread guide looked a little off to me. It might be bent. When I actually put a needle in there, I will double check, but it feels off, so I'm going to kind of open it up just a hair like that, because I think it was bent before for some reason, but now there's plenty of room for a thread to slide in there, okay? Okay, so that is it for the needle bar. Let me go ahead and get the presser bar pieces out. Okay, I've got my presser bar pieces out. And first of all, I've got this little clampy piece here. I just have this set screw barely started in there so I don't lose it. I'm going to throw some oil along here. This is a slidey part. Okay. And it needs to go inside this groove over here. This groove right there is what this goes through. Okay, so it's just kind of sitting there. You can see it right here. The needle, the pressure bar is going to come through. The first thing that goes on here, sometimes they don't fit through the top. Hang on a second. Let me see if they do. If they do, life will be easy. Will it? Will it? No. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. Okay, so sliding this through. First I'm putting on the washer. Come on, washer. Oh my goodness. This camera is right in front of my face here. All right. So now that washer is on, and now I need to put this spring on here. And then push it up on top of that bracket we just put in. And the pressure bar goes through the hole in that bracket and through the bottom, okay? Just like that. Now down here at the bottom, this is a side clamping machine, so this flat part needs to be out to the side like that. And just to get an idea of the height that should be, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, I'm going to bring that down. Obviously this is a bit low because I don't even have a plate there, but it's close enough that I can go ahead and just tighten this screw up here. Might make it a little higher, just a bit. I'll adjust this later, okay? Up at the top, this finial goes on. This is the screw mechanism that's going to allow you to add more or less pressure onto the presser foot. So as the spring compresses, the foot will have a lot more pressure on it, okay? And you'll adjust that depending on the kind of fabric you're using. If you're using something that needs more pressure, great. Less pressure, great. And I'm leaving probably about, what is that, about 3/8 of an inch of thread sticking out, which seems decent. Now I'm going to slide up the thread cutter. I like to put the cutting part right here is the cutting part. Sliding that on if I can. It's a tight one. Moved it up just a bit because it was annoying me. Just so you know, when I say give me a second, that usually means I have got to get the camera out of my way so I can get a better angle and work on this thing. Okay, so anyhow, I'm just putting this foot on here. I need to lower this because it's way too high against that needle bar. Okay. All right, so there is that. Wipe off my greasy fingerprints. So if I turn it, it's looking good so far. Okay, while I'm over here, I'm going to go ahead and put the whole little tension mechanism back together. Okay, so first I put the spring around the post, and I'm holding it down here at the bottom, and I am screwing that in, and that's going to hold the spring tight. Now I can lift the spring so it can rest against this little bottom of the cutout there, and if I lift it up, it's got some spring, so it's doing what it needs to do. Okay, so next, this is the little tension release pin, and it goes in there. You push it back like that. Now we have this little bracket here. Come on now. Okay, and putting it over here, there's a little hole right there that I am going to put my screw in so it's about halfway. Okay, it's got this little slot there, about halfway. I think that will work for right now. And that is going to put this little finger that sticks out at about like a 9 o'clock kind of position. Just call that good. Okay. still working? Yes, we are. All right, so one tension disc, curved side out. Another tension disc, curved side in. This is the washer that's going to bump up against that little release pin. Beehive spring. And knurled nut. Come on, come on. Okay, so what I want to see is if I lift this, my presser foot's too high. Okay, if I lift this, is it going to release tension? And it is. See how it's loose? Now it's not. So that is good. That's what I need. And I need to wipe my dirty fingers off of a white machine. Here's just my 2 cents. I like a white machine because you can tell when it's dirty. Black machines can be completely filthy and they still look the same. But I can tell you from experience cleaning black machines, just because they look black and shiny, they could have a huge amount of filth built up on them, and you don't know until you start cleaning them. White machines, it's all out there in the public. They are not hiding anything, you know? Okay, I need to... I'm not going to put the plates on until one of the last things, in case I need to come in here and do something. But one of the cool things about a 27 or a 127 is the needle bar height, it is what it is. You don't have to worry about setting it. The presser bar height, well, once I get a plate in here, I can make that final adjustment. One thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab it right now, is this has an old style set foot, you know. I am going to include a more modern hinged foot. This is just an aftermarket one, but it will fit on here. And sometimes it's a little bit easier to get constant pressure when you're using a foot that has a hinge. So just let you know, that's going to be included. Yeah. I think what I'm going to do next is work back here with the stitch length fork. So I'm going to need to get her tipped up onto her nose. Okay, so this does have a screw type stitch length mechanism there, so I'm going to go ahead and get it started in here. Again, I don't know what I can do to get rid of those lines. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you know? It is what it is. All right, so in here, the fork is going to go in this way with the little bearing out. This, come on, is going to be riding on top of that bearing inside this slot. The bearing goes in there, and the end, there's a little nub at the end of this piece. It is going to ride right in there in that little groove. Okay, so you can't see me doing all of that, obviously. So let me just do what I can to get it set in there. I need to grab a magnet on a stick. Where is my magnet on a stick? Here it is. And I will be back shortly. Okay, I think I've got it set there. I'm kind of holding it in place with my wad o paper towel because it's very easy. Oh my goodness, that lighting again. It's very easy for that block to want to fall off down here. So, you know, if you can keep it from doing that, so much the better. Oh, you're not spinning in. Let me see. Looking straight down, I'm getting my pokey thing and making sure everything is lined up there. And I do have my washer on. The prongs are slightly angled towards the machine. Ever so slightly. There it goes. Okay. So, wipe off the fingerprints. So if I'm screwing this in, you're seeing this moving towards the back, which is good. It's moving freely. And when I'm twisting it out, it's moving towards the front. So that is good. Very, very good. That is cinched all the way, so I think that we're fine. I'm going to go ahead and pop her up on my little... Oh, you know what? Before I pop her up on my block, I'm going to go ahead and put her balance wheel back on. I think that's what this is here. Yes. Okay. So we have a washer, knob. I've got a couple screws there, so hang on a second. So first, I'm going to put some oil here inside the wheel. Holding it still, make sure it's spinning while I'm holding it still, and it does very well. Let's put my washer in. These little prongs in the center, slightly going down. See that? That's one of those little funky imperfections I was talking about. It's not bad, and it is her original handle, so I am putting it back on, but I wanted to show you. See how it's like there's like, it's like a cavity there, and that's just from the original casting. I don't think that is anybody's fault anywhere. Oh, come on. Okay. Now let's see if I have this screwed on correctly. If I do, I can put my little screw in here. Get that in. Tighten it up. And if all is good, I can turn it a quarter turn. Well, I feel like I can, but it almost feels a little odd. It might just be because this... Hang on a sec. You know what? I'm going to flip it. It just feels odd. Can't say why, but it just feels odd. So that means I'm going to undo this. Pull this off. There. Take this ring and rotate it 180 degrees. Put this back on. Okay, let's see what that feels like. Well, that feels even worse. I think it was right the other way. I don't know what happened, but I'm just going to show you and I'll fix it off camera. I thought I had that screwed in right. It looked like it did, but all of a sudden this came disconnected from that nut. And look, it's way over here. So I'm going to put the fork back again, so that means I have to take the wheel off. I'll fix the fork in place, resecure that bolt, put the wheel back on, and then I'll turn the camera back on and we'll get started on the bottom. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this big nut put in here first. So I'm going to throw some oil in there so we can spin around. This hole right here is for putting even, oopsie, you can't see. That hole right there is for putting even more oil onto. So that is good. And you know what? I think I need to get my little knife in here. There's a piece of paint in there. There we go. Don't need that, making my life difficult. And go ahead and get this screwed in all the way. So, don't know where that screwdriver went. I'm going to grab a big one here. Raise you up out of my way. Get it twisted in place. Okay, so that's cinched in. This is still moving freely, which is what I want. That's important. Okay, just throwing some more oil around inside of where the pivot points are going to be. And that, making sure everything's spinning freely. Okay, now this little slot right in here is where this needs to travel, right here. So I'm going to put more oil on that little bearing. And this is going to cinch up right here. So on this side and the other side is where I need to get my pivot points started. Oh, come on. Once I get them started in so that it'll hold this thing up without falling, then I can go on to the next step. Okay, so you can see I don't have the nuts on yet. I'm going to go ahead and get this through here, and I should have a 3/8 inch nut here, and it's not. I wonder if it fell out of this little bag. Hang on a second, let me go round up a 3/8 inch nut for right here. I got that little nut on there, and there's a little screw that goes right here that tightens that clamp up. Let me get this tightened up, and then I need to go on a search for my good screwdriver. I put it somewhere. It can't be terribly far, because where do I go? It disappeared, so let me go look for it. All right, found it. I had stuck it under my table. Okay, so at this point, the rock shaft is on. You can see there's a tiny bit of play there. I'm not sure exactly where I need it to be yet, because I need to put my feed dogs on for that. So what I'm going to do right now is just put these 9/16 inch nuts on. I'm not going to cinch them up right now because I need to flip her over and get those feed dogs on so I can get this position correct. Okay, so she's back right side up. I've got my feed dogs and the little screw here. I need to get the little round plate out that's going to go right there. Okay, here's my little plate. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's going to go this way, so I know my feed dogs have to go that way, so they'll fit. And I'm just going to slide them down into the bracket down below. Come on, work for me here. Okay, now if I come this way, let's see if we can see this. Down here. Okay, yay. See this little hole right there? That is where I need to get this screwed in. Okay. And there's a little bit of play in the feed dog, so you can raise them or lower them a bit. I'm going to raise them up pretty high just so, you know, I can see things easier. So, bringing her back up here, if I put my plate on, first I want to look and see, are my feed dogs even riding in there? They kind of are, but if you can see, they are way too far this way, okay? So that means I need to move them this way about 1 millimeter or so. So, to do that, I need to loosen this screw over here. I'm going to do it so I see like extra thread there, okay? Move that whole bar over. Reach over the camera. Oh my goodness, such a pain to reach around the camera. Hang on a second. Okay. All right, so I think I have it in place. So I'm going to get my 9/16 inch wrench, you know, righty-tighty here. And while I hold the screw in place, I'm trying to tighten that nut while I'm looking behind the camera. So that one is tight. Let me tip her down and make sure everything is still good. It is that direction. Okay, so let me go ahead and tighten this side up over here now. Okay, so while I'm down here. I had to adjust this screw here. So you loosen the bolt or the nut down here, adjust it, and this is going to adjust how your feed dogs are sitting front to back. So again, righty-tighty. I think I have the wrong side there. Yes, I do. I'm holding this over here so that screw's going to stay in the right position. Hopefully, while I tighten this. Okay. Should be good. I don't know why that's turning. That's not right. It should not turn. Okay. All right, let me turn her back down and just double check everything is right. So I don't have the other half of the bottom in yet, so I'm having to kind of hold the rock shaft up. But I want the feed dogs. Okay, what I'm trying to make sure is I have this at the longest stitch length setting, and I want to make sure the feed dogs are going front to back equally, centered, and it looks like it is. So that's cool. That works for me. Okay, let me flip her back up, and we're gonna work on this little shuttle carrier and pitman arm. I'm just setting this in there. Let me turn the wheel. This is gonna rotate, and as you can see, the hole, maybe you can't see, but the hole for this bracket is smaller than the hole on this piece. That is so that there's a little bit of room for adjustment. Let that go for a second so it can fall out of place. Okay. Get this screwed back in. So once I have my shuttle in there, if I need to, if it's too crowded, I can back it up a bit. If it's too loose, I can tighten it up a bit, okay? So I'm just gonna leave it right there. That looks decent. And get this arm here. There it is. And a couple bolts. There we go. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is there's little screws that go on the ends here. They're for tightening up this clamp. I am just going to get those started. Well, it's easy to reach, but not worry about cinching them up yet. Okay, we have oil here. So I need to refill my oil bottle. Oil here. That has oil there. Okay, if you look, there's more room on this side of this bar than this side, okay? This is the side I want up against here. Okay, the longer shouldered screw is going to go in here. And the shorter little one is going to go over here. There it goes. Okay, so if I turn the wheel, I got that pillow in the way there. Looks good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up those little clamp screws so they can feel like they have accomplished something. Looks good. Okay. That might be the last time I have to see the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and get some cleaner here and try to wipe down my nasties. Okay. Let me go ahead and flip her back upright. They get dirty so easily, but they do clean up. Okay, I need to get her shuttle here. And what I still haven't done is put together the bobbin winder. You know, I will do that momentarily. But for right now, this is her shuttle. I just want to set it in there and see if it feels like it's traveling correctly. So I pull this all the way up to the front. This flat part goes against the curve. And that feels kind of snug. So I'm going to go ahead and move this bracket back just a hair. That would be this screw here. Right there. Okay. So loosen it up. Back it up just, not all the way, like midway. Like right in the middle, I think would be good. Come on. Okay, let me try that again. Bring it forward. Something doesn't feel right. No, I guess it does. Okay. Let's see. Will it travel? Yes. And it sounds good. It doesn't sound like it's scraping. It's moving really well, so that is good. Oh, this is a very full bobbin. Someone has been doing a good job loading their bobbin. I'm just going to take the outer layer of the old thread off real quick so that the stuff underneath might be a little bit better for testing out. If you overfill a shuttle bobbin, it might bind against the shuttle, so you always want to make sure that when you look straight down, you don't see any thread pooching out. That's too full. Okay, in this little hole right here, that is for an oil wick. So I'm going to go grab one and lube it up. Okay, so I've got my little felt wick. That's how far I need to cut. It's like a fat 1/4 inch. Okay. And pop it back in. Get my oil, and we're just going to kind of saturate it. Saturate it up. There's a tiny little pinhole inside here that the oil from this wick is going to use to keep that little shuttle lubricated as it goes past it. That's what it's for. All right, I just slid that plate in, and it slid in really well. The owner was saying that there was a problem with the plate staying in. It's great. I don't know. Maybe there was a buildup of stuff in here from before that wouldn't let it sit in there right. But for right now, I'm very happy with that. So let me give these a quick last polish. I got fingerprints all over that. I'll be right back. The back plate goes on tight. They always go on tight, but you don't have to remove them to do your bobbin or anything. If you ever need to get it out and it's really, really tight, put something wooden up against it and then tap the wooden thing, like a wooden spoon handle or something. Don't hit this with metal. Looks like someone might have at one point because it can damage the little edge there. Okay, so that looks great. You know what, I'm gonna go ahead, push this ejector button, pull the bobbin out. And I'm going to put this bobbin in even though it's an old thread, just so I can play with it. So it goes, wraps across like that, drop it in, pull it straight down this slot, and you can see it goes up like that. Okay, it snaps through that little area, so when I pull it, it's turning. Okay, and that's going to set in here. Leave that thread dangling through up there and close this up. Oops, that little wick wants to bounce out. That's okay. Close that up most of the way just so it doesn't bind on that thread right there. All right, so on my last stop here, I need to get my bobbin winder put back together again. So let's get this little heart cam centered on there. Let's see, this follower is going to go with this spring over there, and that. This tiny little screw right here should be the one for this. Okay, so now that that is attached, you know what, I'm going to actually put this on first. So I'm going to stick the spring over here. Okay, that's up. Put my follower, it's way down here. That's okay. Get a screw and tighten it up. Why aren't you using your screw starter, Marie? It is started. Cinch it in just a hair. So when I pull it this way, it wants to bounce that way. So that's what I want, okay? Now there is this little spring here. I'm just pulling this out of the way with my thumb. This spring goes there. This is going to sit on top of it. And this bolt, which is not centered, okay, that is going to go through here. Let me just kind of twist it a little bit so it'll pop through. Come on. It should pop through. Come on. Come on. Why aren't you just popping in? Oh. All right, let me center that up again and try one more time. Okay, it's going in now, I think. There it goes. All right, now it's all the way through. I got threads on the back. I've got a very small screw here, or nut, I should say. It needs to go onto the back. Oh, hang on a sec. Oh, this is still on here from last time. It is 9:30 seconds. Okay. Come on, what, some days everything seems difficult, you know? Just give me a minute. All right, I'm just going to hold that nut with my finger and start the turn out here. Pull that out of the way. I feel like I need 5 fingers sometimes instead of 4 and a thumb. Maybe it's the other nut. I have 2 little nuts here. Yeah, I think that I had the wrong nut. Okay, well. Now I don't have that cinched really hard because I want to make sure I have this screw correct. This is going to adjust the gap in there. You want it close enough that these threads are going to catch the sides of the gear, but not so close that it's going to bind. See, that's a little too far away. I I think that's good. Let me give it a try. Okay, so on this one, having this slot kind of towards 2 o'clock position, that is the correct one for this. So at this point it turns well, everything like that. I'm going to go ahead and put this little plate back on, get on the screw little thing. Okay, you want to be able to move it so you can put a drop of oil in there, okay? Now that I have the plate down here, I'm going to go ahead and get that presser foot back on. I can remember which little dish I put it into, so I can get this final setting for that screw up there. This little thread guide, it's still bothering me. It's not shaped like they typically would be. I think it's okay, but if it ever gives it trouble, I may need to replace it. Don't think so though. Hang on. All right, so that is tight. No, it's fine. All right, so when I lower this presser foot, I can see the toes are not lined up with the feed dogs, which is my first problem. So I'm going to loosen this screw here, turn it so the toes are lined up. I want to turn the wheel so my feed dogs are down, they're down position, and make sure this is against the plate down there. Okay, let's see how this is going to do. So if I lift it, I'm just going to stick a paper towel under there, pretend it's fabric. Let's see how it fades. Okay, and I still have it at that long stitch length, so it's feeding well. So I think that we're going to be good there. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and put the front plate back on here. Okay, 2 little screws go here and here. Not least, I need to get the bobbin winder attached to the belt guard. So the belt guard's going to sit this way. Okay, let's just set it there for a second. This is going to need to be attached here, and I do need to put a new tire on. This spring, take this screw out before I lose it there, is going to sit in here. Okay, this is going to go up against it like that, and I have a, oh my goodness, a bolt and a nut that's going to need to be on here. So that is in, and this other little nut should go over here, if I can get it started. Tighten it up. Okay. Look-see, that looks good. Okay, let me go get a new tire. Okay, so now with her new tire on, I'm going to set it here. Now remember, the owner has the pin for the spool of thread right here at home, so they're going to tap it back in when she arrives back home. But I'm going to temporarily just kind of set one in there so that I can put a spool of thread on just to make sure that she's actually going to sew, because that's the point of this whole thing, isn't it? Okay, let's see first if I push her up so she's engaging with that wheel. Oops, loosen the clutch, of course. Okay, and yes, the bobbin is turning. You have to push it here. You know, you just have to apply some pressure, but that is turning. Lovely. And then when you're not using the bobbin, you just rock it forward a little bit, okay? Let me go get a little spool pin just to hold on for a second. What else I forgot to do is put her little medallion back on. Now I need to tell you, there was something on the wheel that was, you know, it looked like something had gotten on there and did a number on the paint and everything and turned everything white. Whatever it was, I think had come down onto the medallion too, because these are usually brass, all right? And if you can see on the back, it was, when I cleaned it, it was like the color had been stripped off. So what I did is I cleaned the medallion really well and gave her a coat of shiny gold paint. Excuse me. So that's why she looks as lovely as she does. The original, you know, she's so gorgeous right now. Having a splotchy, discolored medallion would not have been good. So I'm going to go ahead and get my hammer pins. I need to punch little holes where those, hang on. I'll just use this. Little holes where the pins go. Here's one right here, and the other is right here. Okay, I'll be right back. And she is sewing really well. And I got her tension balanced. So yeah, she's doing great. So if I unscrew the knob over here, that makes a shorter stitch. Screw it in, it's a longer stitch. But everything's looking beautiful. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to go get her ready for her glamour shot. Take care. Bye-bye.